Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. I'm glad that you found my channel. My name is Brittany and I review books that I've read, and I try to encourage people to read the books that I've read. I'm really excited about this book that I'm going to be reviewing today. It is called Hungry Ghosts by Kevin Hosein. I hope that's not Hosein. Sorry, Kevin. But this book is actually by a male author from Trinidad. I hope you could see it and it's not reflecting. But I read this book in like 2 weeks. Yesterday, I was maybe like this much done with the book, and I read like this much yesterday. It was just like I was at home. Well, actually, when I put this video out, it'll be like way past yesterday, if that makes sense. But yesterday I was at home and it was like rainy and I wasn't really doing much, and I'm like, I'm gonna just power through. And I didn't even need to like force myself to read it because it was actually so good. So I'm just gonna get into it. Hungry Ghosts. This book is set in Trinidad, which, like I mentioned in my previous book review, when I reviewed Pleasant View, I really loved that it was set in Trinidad because I feel like I was like fully understanding like the feel, the sounds, the smells, just like everything that the author was describing. Like I felt like I could relate to it so much just because like I would like have lived in Trinidad for most of my life. So this book also felt like the same, even though it's like a previous time. It was like in the 1940s. But still, like they were like describing like the birds that you would hear, the trees that you would have in your yard, like the weather. And I'm like, yes, I could like see and feel and understand everything. So that was really nice and very familiar for me. So the setting, they also like use like Trini like Creole or like slang in here, not as much as Pleasant View, but you could also like tell in like the way that they wrote the dialogue that it's like a Trini people like speaking. The people, the characters that they described in the story or like followed along with in the story, were very not truly like relatable characters, but like I felt like I could see exactly what they looked like and knew who they were based on like their description and like the way that they were living. And even if you haven't like lived in Trinidad or you aren't Trini, which many of the people that like will be reading this book aren't, I feel like the author, like Kevin, like describes them really well. So like you have an idea of like what they look like. The book like starts off by giving you a description, not really a description, but like telling you all of the characters and like who they are and how like they're like related or whatever. I found myself going back to this page a couple times. Just because like at the beginning it was like many names being thrown around and I'm like, whoa, like who's that person? But it's not like overwhelming, where you're like, who's this person again? Like you're not like completely forgetting them. And even if you do, it's right here on the first page so you can go back to. Unlike Pleasant View, I feel like none of the characters like had like they just disappeared from the book. I know like what happened to every single one of them. At least by the end, like I know where they like what happened to each person. Yeah. I really don't like when like I'm like, wait, what happened to this person? I didn't feel like that at the end of this book. So Hungry Ghosts. The name is essentially, this book follows like a few characters who are Hindu. And so I felt like I understood like a couple more things about like Hindu culture. And in the book there's this like older lady, her name is Rukmin, and she was kind of like really into like the whole like Hindu like spirituality and like, you know, like the spirits and this and that. And she had mentioned to another character that like when someone dies, you have to like put stuff out for them, like food and this and that, so that when they come, they could have something to eat. And if they don't have something to eat, they get like really hungry and they end up like tormenting people and bringing other ghosts with them. And like that, I guess that's basically where the hungry ghosts like name came from, because like besides that point in the story, they didn't really talk about ghosts, like hungry ghosts specifically. There's a lot of like that type of like talk in the book, like about like ghosts and like spirituality, like Hindu spirituality. And so I feel like if you have no idea like what they're talking about, you might be like lost, because they do use a lot of like Hindu like names of like gods and just that aspect a lot in the book. So just be on the lookout for that. So yeah, the book is set in like the 1940s. Trinidad has like just been, it's like the end of like the British colonial rule. And so they're talking basically about like there's like these two areas. There's like the farmhouse area where the rich couple lives, Mr. and Mrs. Changur. And then they have like the barracks where like the poorer, like lower class people live. And many of the characters that they describe, like they mention in this book, like Hans, Shweta, Krishna, Tarak, Dolly, Umesh, Lata, Mandeep, like all of these people, minus maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 9 or so of them. All of them except 9 or so of them live in the barrack. So their lives are pretty connected. They're friends, basically family, because a barrack isn't like a community. Or I mean, it is a community, but it isn't like everybody has like their own home and they, you know, we're neighbors. Like it's like one big house and everybody has like a room basically. So they're all in each other's business, which isn't good. And their stories are all interconnected. And so some of those people like Hans and a couple other guys who don't live at the barrack like work for the rich upper class people, Mr. and Mrs. Changur. Mr. Changur, very early, I don't want to say that right, Changur, very early in the story disappears. Like he's like, I gotta go handle some business. He writes a letter to his wife. I gotta go handle some business. Keep the door closed. And so he just like disappears from the book like pretty early on. And so like the wife, her name is Molly, she like asks one of the workers, which is one of the main characters from the barrack, Hans, to like come stay with like her in the shed or whatever, in like the outhouse, to basically like take care of the place at night, because people know that like they're rich and they have like fruit trees and money and all this good stuff. Like weird stuff starts happening around the house. Like people would like sneak onto the property and like steal things. She'll like get like weird messages, and people were starting to like break her, like throw rocks through her windows and be like, I need this money by this time, meet me here or you're dead. And so she was like, whoa, like, is this a ransom for my husband? Like, where is he? Is he okay? Is he coming back? But then she was like, I'm gonna ask Hans, which is the guy from the barrack, to like come stay as security. Listen, the story just all starts going downhill pretty fast. So Mr. Changur, nowhere to be found. Hans is trying to like stay and do his whole little security thing while everybody at the barrack is like trying to like continue living their life. There's many different stories of people there as well, that gets played out, that you like understand more of like why they are that like the way that they are. But basically Mr. Hans decides he likes Miss Changur, Marley, and abandons his family, essentially. And in the end, he has to like pay for his choices of like abandoning his wife. He had a son, his name was Krishna. Because he was like gone, Krishna ends up like going and being with this crowd of people that just, he was just up to no good. But Krishna was also like dealing with like, you know, he was like 12, 13. He's like, yo, like, I want to do my own thing. Like, my father isn't even around. Like, you know, I'm angry at him. There's just like so many different things happening. I could never eat, like, if I had to like really go into this story, I feel like I would like spill too much, but it's basically like an interconnected story, kind of like Pleasant View, of all of these people and how their lives and the decisions that they make like reflect each other. So like you see like there's like racism, like Mrs. Changur like wants Hans to like help her out, and she like likes Hans and Hans likes her, blah blah blah. But then she's also like Hans is an Indian man, and she's racist to like all the other people at the barrack, but it's like Hans just came from right there, so like, you know, like what's up with that? She's classist. She's like, we're rich up here, blah blah blah, like come on Hans, like I'll give you clothes and food and this and that, like I can treat you better, this and that. Like there's just so much drama, like those topics being explored. Then there's like the strained relationships that I was telling you about. So Hans and his wife Shweta start having major beef. They had also like lost a daughter and had like a very like rough relationship since then. But you know, like they loved each other and confided and relied on each other through that tough time. And then they ended up having a second son, which is Krishna. But now that he like started like going off with this other lady at the farmhouse, it's like, okay, like weird, like what's up with you type of vibe. Why you want to leave where you were at? Strained relationship with Hans and his son Krishna, because like I said, Krishna's growing up, he's becoming a teenager, he's following the wrong crowd. His father seems like this like weak man to him because Hans is like a kind of like a kiss up. But Hans also knows like I need to be this way because of my class. Like I can't go up to the village and be like rah rah rah, like people are gonna take advantage of me. I don't even have anything to like be rah rah about. I'm really trying to like give you the rundown without giving you the story. There's a lot of loss in the story. Like I said, like Hans and Shweta had lost a daughter. People had like lost their husbands, their wives, their mothers, their fathers. There's a lot of like domestic violence, like stories of domestic violence, not like in the past with these main characters, like their parents. Some of the like actual like people in the story were also experiencing that. There's a lot of like curiosity with like the children, and like figuring out their own way around life. Like they're like, we're in this barrack, like is this it? Like how do I make my way out of here and like go to a better life? Like, you know, I want to be like how this lady is up here in the farmhouse. There's a lot of like Trinidadian like culture that you will like read about, Hindu culture mostly, a lot of like spirituality, Hindu spirituality stuff. There's growth in like some of the characters, like Shweta, I feel like she grows a lot, or like has like a lot of like ups and downs throughout the story. There's a lot of information going on in this book, but ultimately it's a story of many different characters, many different people, essentially all living the same life, just at different levels and thinking of ways that they can get out of where they are and get better at their lives, basically. And their decisions that they make and things that they do sometimes helps them get to where they want to be, and sometimes it doesn't. Like many of the characters in the story, like the things that they did, they thought that it was gonna like be good in the moment, and then it ended up like backfiring on them at the end. And so this book, I'm rambling. Like, I'm really rambling. But this Hungry Ghosts, probably the best book I've read this whole year. I mean, it's still kind of early, but like, I'm putting it up there. It's so good. It's like a thicker book, but like you will not want to put it down. Like, you'll want to know like what is going to happen next. I cannot recommend this book enough. The chapters aren't long. The characters, like, you are invested in them. You want to know what's happening. You want to know like what is actually going on. So yeah, I really I gotta decide like if I want to start doing spoiler reviews, because I feel like I try to like give you this much, and then people don't actually read the books. But I'm telling you, Hungry Ghosts, please get it. So good. 5 stars. You heard it here first. But yeah, 5 stars for sure. I recommend. I would reread this book actually. Wow. When I first made my YouTube video, my YouTube page, I was like, I don't ever reread books. But actually, I don't know if I'll reread it. I had said like, I don't think I would ever reread a book. Like, what's the point of rereading a book? But I could see now like why somebody would want to reread this book, because it was actually so good. See if you get like any other clues like ahead of time of like stuff that was happening. I also like love the cover. It's like so Caribbean. Like, this is the house. I hope you can see. This is the house that the Mr. and Mrs. Changur like lived in. You can see it's like kind of like wealthier. They give you like some like, you know, coconut trees, some people working the land. I love it. It's so good. So yeah. Let me know if you've read this book before, because I actually want to like hear other people's opinions of it. I haven't seen anyone say like anything bad about Hungry Ghosts, which is like, hello, this is what I'm trying to tell you. Let me know if you've read it. Let me know if now you want to read it. And yeah, run to go get this book. It's so good. It's actually kind of like on the pricier side. I paid 30 US for it, but with the price for sure. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning into my review. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I will see you for the next video. Bye.